Quote, "It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most adaptable to change." End quote. Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin's magnum opus was published in 1859. The full title, On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, or the Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. Biology. A quick review of some basics from high school. Deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. Oxford researchers James Watson and Francis Crick discovered the double helix in 1951. They received substantial technical assistance from Maurice Wilkins and Rosalind Franklin. DNA is the building block for all living beings. Thymine, adenine, cytosine, guanine. Gene alleles are located on the chromosomes. They determine the specific traits passed on from a set of two parents. Mutations occur on gene alleles by various means. From onlyzoology.com, mutations occur by chance or randomly, whereas natural selection occurs due to an environment's selective pressure on an organism. University of Pennsylvania genetics professor Sarah Tishkoff. Quote, "Allele frequencies will also change over time due to genetic drift, random fluctuations of allele frequencies from generation to generation." End quote. Mendelian genetics. Gregor Mendel was an 18th century botanist and part-time teacher in Monrovia. Mendel experimented in his garden, cross-pollinating various plants, concentrating on peas in particular. Mendel's laws. 1. Each inherited trait from a parent is defined by gene alleles. 2. Each gene for a specific trait is independent from another. 3. The dominant allele is expressed, not both alleles. Lamarckism versus Darwinian selection. French biologist Jean-Baptiste Lamarck believed that selection occurred by acquired characteristics during an organism's life, and then that organism passed on those genes with those traits. Through Lamarckism, a giraffe got its long neck by stretching its neck to reach high tree top leaves, and then passing on genes for stretched necks to its offspring. The Darwinist view is that selection occurs by natural forces, such as the environment, predators, and disease. Natural selection in the animal kingdom. Organisms with traits better adapted to survive in a rugged, even hostile environment are more likely to survive and to pass on their genes. Animals of prey are under particularly intense selective pressures. Those animals with traits giving them even a slight advantage in avoiding predators are more likely to pass on their genes. Giraffes with a particular mutation giving it a slightly longer neck had an advantage. Giraffes with longer necks were able to feed on younger leaves at the tops of trees with greater nutritional value. Another driving force in evolutionary adaptation is sexual selection. Females are far more likely to select males with traits that are adapted to the environment. In the case of giraffes, females would select males with longer necks. The quagga is the ancient ancestor of zebras living today. The zebra's stripes, when in a herd, confuses predators. Quaggas, or archaic zebras, with traits for more stripes, gave them a slight advantage in avoiding predators and a leg up in the mating pool. Malthusianism and the survival of the fittest. Darwin read Thomas Malthus's Principle of Population during his 5-year worldwide voyage of the Beagle. Malthusianism may play a role in natural selection. When overpopulation by a particular species outstrips available food sources, the population decreases. From PBS.org. After reading Malthus, Darwin saw that the variation he had seen in wild populations would produce some individuals that were slightly better equipped to survive and reproduce, leaving more offspring. Continuing, Darwin came to realize, including human society, populations tended to breed beyond their means, leaving survivors and losers in an effort to exist. Natural selection at work within our own human species. The human journey begins 7 million years ago. Climate change shifted in Africa to a drier savanna environment. Our last common ancestor with our chimpanzee cousins was likely Sahelanthropus chilensis 7 million years ago. Toumai was discovered in Chad in 1991 by a French archaeology team. Forested land turned to open savanna. Toumai was forced to descend from the trees in search for food. Orion tugenensis, discovered by a second French team in Kenya in 1999, is dated at 5.2 million years ago. The species was even more bipedal than Sahelanthropus. Scientists could tell that both Sahel and Orion were bipedal due to the forward position of the foramen that attaches the spine. Quote, "Our bipedal locomotion was a gateway to many traits that make us human. It is at the root of who we are as a species." End quote. Professor Jeremy De Silva, Dartmouth University. At this stage, man was likely more the hunted rather than the hunter. These early hominins were under extreme selective pressures, resulting in brain growth and more efficient bipedalism. Donald Johanson discovered Lucy, Australopithecus afarensis, in the Awash region of Ethiopia in 1974. The Australopithecines, 4.1 million years ago to 2 million years ago. The Australopithecines were slightly bigger brained. We begin to see some evidence of stone tool usage. The first likely Homo habilis bones are dated 2.4 million years ago. It is around this time period that archaeologists have uncovered what appears to be early stone tools. With Homo habilis, and certainly by Homo erectus, early man gradually moved from scavenging meat to hunting with rudimentary weapons. Anthropologist Robert Ardrey, quote, "Early man probably hunted with spears thrown at animals from a close distance, clubs, rocks, simple but effective. It fed their large brains," end quote. The rise of Homo sapiens. Homo erectus emerged 1.95 million years ago. Homo erectus was the first human species to leave Africa. Homo erectus skulls, teeth, and bones have been recovered on the Eurasian continent dated 1.95 million years ago. Once on the Eurasian continent, Homo erectus expanded as far east as Southeast Asia. Homo erectus likely gave rise to Heidelbergensis and Homo ancestor further to the west. Neanderthals and Denisovans diverged from Heidelbergensis 500,000 years ago. Homo sapiens emerged at the same time, but it is still to be determined from which hominid species Homo sapiens emerged. Hunting big game and planning for the winter months likely led to larger brains. Less intelligent or physically incapable hominids perished. Survival of the best adapted. Quote, "The survival of the fittest, which I have sought to express, is that which Mr. Darwin has called natural selection, or the preservation of favored races in the struggle for life." End quote. Herbert Spencer, 1891. As Darwin foretold, our own species has a similar amount of variation as other animal species. All modern human populations are best adapted to our own unique environments. Quote, "Genes under selective pressure bear no similarity among the races. Genes for Europeans are under different selective pressures than those of East Asians or Africans." End quote. Dr. Charles Murray. Thank you for watching.